What's going on, everybody? How you doing? This is Lord PeteyTV here to give you another weekly update for our affixes and what is going on this week for, I think it's week 10 of our Mythic Pluses. Now, what we're going to be going into right now is what our supposed new affixes are going to be. So first of all, make sure you hit that subscribe button here. Make sure you go to the link in the information below to go to our Twitch channel. Hit that follow button there. If you're looking to support the channel, make sure you end up hitting subscribe there, or even making sure you use Lord PeteyTV as like your Epic Creator code, or Rogue Energy drinks or things like that. So make sure you are keeping an eye on those things for us. That'd be amazing. Now, to get into the nitty-gritty of everything, so what our affixes are going to be. Our affixes supposedly are going to be Tyrannical, Bolstering, Volcanic, and Thundering. Okay, so now let's take a moment to just talk about those things, go over what they are and how they're going to affect everybody. So, Tyrannical bosses are going to have more health and are going to deal more damage. And then we got our Bolstering, so when allies die, the allies that are close by are going to get bolstered and get stronger. And then from there, we're going to have our Volcanic, which is the little rumblings underneath your feet, and then a volcano pops up underneath you. And then lastly is your Thundering. As you all know, that is the increased health on the enemies, and you're going to get those positive and negative charges on yourself. So, as you guys know, we're going to go through a little thought process and drop down of each one and how it's going to affect you. So, let's take a moment and think about this. For your tanks, what you're going to mostly have to be worrying about is your bosses for Tyrannical and Bolstering. Now, this week isn't too bad of a week if you have a really, really, really strong DPS. If your DPS is strong enough to be able to take down the Bolstering, then your tanks are really only going to have to worry about your bosses. So that's not too bad. So that's one thing you're going to have to keep an eye on. So not too bad in my opinion. For your melee DPS, you're going to have to just worry about the Bolstering. Make sure you're cleaving your enemies down evenly, making sure you're taking stuff down, and you're working appropriately with that. So, pretty easy to go from there. Your ranged DPS are going to have to watch out for the Bolstering also, and the Volcanic, which is going to end up, hurting you if you end up getting underneath you. It's going to be the same thing for your healers. Your healers are going to have to keep an eye on your Volcanic, and the bosses for Tyrannical. So you're going to have to make sure that, you have full health when you're going into your bosses. So not too bad. So this week, in my personal opinion, is not going to be that hard a week. The only place is going to be an issue is going to be your Tyrannical bosses. That's where you're going to have your biggest issue. If you're talking about dungeons like 15 plus, where your DPS is really strong and really high, those bolstered mobs are just gonna crumble. So you're not gonna have to worry about those guys so much. As for your bosses, they're gonna stay up longer because most people are, they are tuned to being set up for, some type of, multi-cleave DPS. So they're going to stay up a little longer, but, not too bad as a whole. All right, so that's that. Now, let's do a quick little rundown of the dungeons and where you're going to want to be careful of. As we always go through the list here. All right, so Ruby Life Pools, where we end up starting to talk here. You're going to end up having problems on your first boss, where you're going to have to end up making sure that you properly place your person when you're going through. The ads getting to the first boss aren't going to be too bad because you just quick pull them, and you could pull one big mob. Just make sure you don't pull that first boss with them because they'll be probably pretty easy to kill. And then after that, you have your first boss, which is going to be a little wonky. The ads around the ring aren't going to be too bad this week, because you do not have fortified. So that's not going to be too bad. But the boss is going to be very difficult to deal with, those searing blade attacks. So you're going to have to be really, really careful and knowledgeable about that when it's coming out for your healers. So be careful of that. The ads going to the next boss aren't too bad because not many of those guys bolster. And then the last boss in Ruby Life Pools is going to be a little bit of a pain, because unless you have a lot of range, so just high single target damage to get that, you know, flyer down quickly. Once that comes down, you shouldn't be too bad. The Ruby Life Pools is going to be really, really hurting if you're a healer. So be very, very wary of that, and be very, very, you know, ready to punch on those keys as soon as possible. Agathar Academy, you know, just to briefly just talk about it really quickly. The tree boss, you know, he's going to be doing a lot of damage to you. So healers, be very wary of that. I would probably use the pots on that to help, you know, kind of burn those ads down a little quicker, just to get through them so the boss is a little easier. Rotating those with another player, like, you know, 2 players going at a time. So I would take down that boss quickly. Veximus shouldn't be that bad as long as the healer is on top of their game for keeping an eye on you know, the dots that are going on onto the range DPS. So that's that. I mean, you have the call that boss there. He's gonna do a lot of damage, and you're gonna get smacked really, really hard with those pecs. So be careful of that, or shrieks if you want to call them. I call them pecs. So be careful of that. And then your ads going to the final boss, be very careful of those. Those guys are going to do a crap ton of damage if you overpull them because of bolstering. So be very, very careful of those pulls. Last boss, you're going to be there for a really long time. So be careful of where your placement, where your footing is, of getting hit by extra ticks to drop those pools on the ground. So the more you start, you know, getting in the way and causing problems, that's when you know you're going to start getting a problem there. Azure Vault, the whole place is going to be a little crazy. That's probably my #1 stay away from this week. I mean, it's closely going to be followed by Knockhud, but Azure Vault, you're going to have a decent amount of ads to clear, but they won't be bolstering too much in the beginning, but in the end they will. So going to the first boss, yeah. First boss isn't going to be too bad. The first tree boss, he's going to be easy. Then the next boss, he's the orb boss. The orbs, the 4 orbs. That one's going to be really, really hard. So make sure your DPS is taking down those balls together, so that you're not, you know, putting extra damage onto the healer or the ads for making sure they have to run around more. And then the third boss is going to be up for a while, so make sure you guys are putting your footing and dropping the frost on the outside while you're running around. And then the last boss, you're going to be the dragon. You're going to have to really, really be careful of, because he's going to end up being full of those circles, because you're going to be doing that stuff for a really long time. And those shards, make sure you kill them as fast as possible. You don't want to be in a situation where you're going to have problems with that. So you have them. Not co-defensive. Be careful of every single pull you're going to do, tanks, because those bolsterings are going to start turning into problems. So, I mean, that's going to be problems there. First boss, not too worried about him. Second boss, the thundery water boss, he's going to be very, very difficult this week. Healer has to be on point. Tank has to be on point on keeping himself sustained and healing. So you'd be very, very careful of that. And the third boss is just going to take a while, just so you'll be. That's pretty self-explanatory and easy. The last one is going to be very difficult, like not very difficult, but going to be more on the difficult side, because you're going to have to want to grab mobs from both sides, put them in the center, AoE them, take them down. Once you end up taking them down, then things are going to get easier. Hold lust for that, and then kill the boss, because the boss, other than that's going to be easy. Watch the it's called landslide, landfill, land something, the pools of stuff underneath the ground. So be careful of that, of going from there. Halls of Valor, since the mobs are very easy, you could probably probably pull a lot of that stuff super quickly, and you're not going to have any problems with that. Be very careful of the left side when you get to the boss. So you go through the first boss. The first boss is going to be easy, not too bad. It's just going to be long. Then you're going to go to the left, and you're going to kill those guys first. That first guy that drops the dome. I'm blanking on their name. Ugh. It's gonna kill me. Blanking. Was it Frisia? No, is it Frisia? I think it's Frisia. When they go to the orb side, he's gonna be very, very difficult. So be very careful. What I recommend is starting to roll cooldowns in a proper way so that your healer can, only have to deal with one person or two people through that. The other side's gonna be easy. The other side, you got Fenrin or whatever his name is, the dog. That dot is going to hurt like a bee. So make sure everyone's stacking in there, making sure when the cleave happens, everybody gets going. If you need to use health pots, if you need to use cooldowns, rotate that stuff. Help your healer so you don't have to deal with that. And then the last two bosses, it's pretty much the same as before. So just keep an eye on where you're standing and keep an eye on where you're going. And make sure you're standing behind the shields, and you'll take care of those guys. Just be careful. As for Court of Stars, there's a lot of ads in there. If you're pulling it that way, be very, very careful. First boss is going to be easy. The trash going to the first boss is going to be a real pain. Well, I should say the groups are going to be pains because you can mass pull a lot of those really quickly, and bolstering stacks could stack there. But other than that, shouldn't be too bad. After that, you have going to the next boss. It shouldn't be that bad because you're going to be pulling little mobs here and there. So, way to go for that. Last boss, it's just going to be long. Make sure you're going to use cooldowns. Make sure you're baiting the thing outside, and then after that, you're going to be golden. Shadow Moon Burial Ground, as always, how you end up thinking of those. You're going to have a couple of really, really large pulls, but most of them aren't going to be that bad. The first big pull, or I should say the second pull, or the first big pull, that's going to be hard. If you can end up bypassing that, do it. We've had people end up using stealth or something like that to get past those guys. Once you get past those guys, you can grab the 2 extra spiders down below and it'll compensate. But that's one thing to think of. Bypassing those guys, getting to the spiders, cleaving the spiders, going down, go to the first boss. Don't stand on the circles for the first boss. It's going to be a long fight, so you want to make sure you're baiting those daggers on the outside until they start disappearing. So that's going to be that. And then Dominations, the second boss is just going to be long, not too difficult. When you go into that shadowy phase, make sure you're using pots there, so you can go through that. Then after that, you're going to have, your big group ads. Make sure you're just AoEing those guys down. No CC. That stuff will die pretty quickly. And because of how everything works in there, you're not going to have really big problems with the bolstering. And then from there, you're going to continue through the next boss. The next boss is just going to take a long time. It's going to be pain, full and annoying. Be careful of the next group of spiders after that. And then after that, the last boss, just take your time with him and don't end up touching any of the purple, and you're good there. Temple of the Jade Serpent. Temple of the Jade Serpent I don't think is going to be too harmful to people. The hardest part of Temple of the Jade Serpent is going to be when you are going to the second boss and around the pool of the third boss. So you gotta be careful of that stuff. First boss is just the same. It's just gonna take longer. Second boss is it's gonna be the same. He's just gonna take longer, and the healer's just gonna have to heal harder. So be careful for that. and then you're going to kill all the ads around the circle. The third boss is going to be, that second phase that third boss does is going to be very, very problematic, so be very, very careful of that. Then after that, you're going to have your ads going through to the last boss, not so bad. Then the last boss is going to be very, very difficult to deal with. Make sure you're getting those decurses off quickly. Make sure that you end up having, you know, high enough AoE to take down those ads to get them out of that healing phase, and you'll be good to go. So it's very, you know, it's a very, this week isn't bad, but if you talk about it the way that we're talking about it right now, it sounds bad. But it isn't bad, a bad week. So I would definitely, you know, take the week if I could. But I digress. So as I was saying, thank you so much for listening to me ramble about our dungeons this week and what our affixes are going to look like and how to kind of deal with them. Make sure you hit, like I was saying, that subscribe button here so that we can end up getting our numbers up here. And make sure you hit that follow button on our Twitch channel. I would love to see everybody in that channel. I greatly appreciate and love everybody. Thank you so much. Dream big, keep gaming. Lord PeteyTV here. So make sure I see you in chat, and good luck on your vaults. And if you are part of our Discord, please make sure you tell us what you got. So love to hear it. All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.